Hello and welcome to Art Show. I'm Craig Stover, and today I have with me Francis Beaty. Hi, Francis. How are you?
I'm great. Hi, Craig.
I'm thrilled to have you on the show today. I wanted to start by sharing some work of yours. So I went on your site, no particular order to these, and not even chronological. So I was hoping I could get you to can you tell me a little bit about this particular piece?
Oh boy, I did that on a residency in Nevada, and it was 100 degrees that day. And I just was scrounging around the workshop, leftover aluminum pieces from the other metal artists, and that's how that became fabricated.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's hot. But I was really thinking of this as a maquette. I make mostly maquettes for my work. So there you go. You can see it's very rough. With
Did
the
you did you paint it or was it already painted?
No, I painted it. Yeah, I had to find whatever paint was hanging around. That's how I roll. I kind of like scavenge and then just create it.
I was curious about this particular piece. Out of a lot of your works, the forms are very sort of free flowing, but this one, I don't know if I'm just reading into it. Was there a figure that was based on this? Is it,
It's
is
funny. People keep saying that. I wasn't thinking that at all. But
okay.
after the fact, many times people say, "Oh, is that you? You were burning up out there?" And I said, "Could have been."
Well, I think anytime you do a sculpture and you have more than one base that touches the ground, people
Yeah,
automatically, oh, those are legs. So they try to
exactly.
figure out the rest.
Exactly. Exactly.
Um, but I really I appreciated this piece really for it's the negative shapes that get me.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I make some sculptures that are sort of similar, and I like the idea that when you can spin this, it looks so different from every side. I love sculptures that you can't memorize.
Right. And I don't believe there should be a front, a back, or an anything, because
Yeah,
I like to think that we see things three-dimensionally or top view, as if we're
yeah,
a bird flying over.
yeah.
Yeah, I
I would
love the
love to.
space between. I love the negative space. To me,
I'd
it's
love to
just
see that one
like,
larger. So
yeah, it's what you mean.
this is
Yeah.
very different,
Yes, yes. More
and again,
material than I found.
more scrounged materials.
Yes, yes.
Do you alter the materials when you find them, or are you looking for particular shapes?
I don't really know what I'm looking for. I just see what they will do for me. What the material, how I can bend it. Like those metal pieces were pretty heavy, but I was able to bend them a little bit, the ones that are going horizontally. But
Hmm.
now those cone things on the top, they were ceramic. I
Hmm.
don't know what the heck they were, but they were. This was all in a junk pile. So
Okay.
it's more
And then,
about how can I build it.
yeah, how are you connecting the pieces together? Are you welding them, or is it
No, no, that's what I'm telling you. I basically just shoved the stuff together and it
okay?
stood up. That's kind of with me. Because I don't know how to weld. I was invited to this residency thinking someone was going to teach me, and they said, no, that's not how this works. And I was like, okay, well, so I'll just have to do my typical jerry rig, see what will stick together. So that's
Hmm.
what this was. Just letting the material become the machine because
Yeah,
that's where I was.
I that does stun some people that it's not all the pieces are permanently attached. But I always come back to artists like Andy Goldsworthy, where he's
Right,
taking natural materials and
right,
making the shapes of them.
right.
So you can just sort of let that go. But
Yeah.
again, it's these negative shapes that I really enjoy, and of course the shadow is just fantastic.
Uh-huh. Well, it was beautiful. I called it timekeeper or timepiece or something like that. I don't remember, but the shadows changed throughout the day. It was like a time, what is that? A timekeeper,
Modern
turnstile.
day sundial, yeah.
Sundial. There you go. Because I was in the sun. So here we go again.
Uh-huh.
Same
So this one
situation.
is really much larger. Is this like a scale? This because this isn't a maquette, right? This is a
This
full
was
scale.
actually a true piece. It ended up being about 6 feet tall. Those three thin metal pieces, if most people figure it out, and I love it, are tomato cages.
Hmm.
So those were the those were the
Hmm.
structure, and then I just love working with aluminum because it's so forgiving, and it'll do what I want, or it only does what it wants. So that's just one solid piece of aluminum that I just wove through there.
The tomato cage, it harkens to the bottle cleaners, Duchamp's bottle cleaners. I really
Yeah.
love those.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm more about, oh, what won't cost me a lot of money? And how can I transport it in this car? This will fit
Right.
in my car. I don't own a truck. So it's a lot of it comes down to logistics.
Yeah. It's great. This piece, again, it has that same no front quality, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
it's dynamic from every angle.
yeah. And I always like to, here we go again. I always, when I see these metal pieces, I have to tell you, I was always blown away by the work of Frank Gehry. So people that know that him know that how I love his inspiration, because so many of his pieces were just trash pieces. He would discard paper. So here we go again. This was they gave me some metal and I was just playing. And they're just sitting there. And I thought, doesn't it look like a present?
I like that little bit of red. That's what really makes this piece. That's why I chose this. It started. Some of the more current works reminds me of the latest work of Frank Stella. You know, his big giant.
Oh, of course,
Sculptural found forms.
Right.
But these have more of a sweetness involved in them. They're much more, I want to say, personal.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking of it as a present, like I said, in the present. But I felt like actually being in Nevada to me was a gift. I was surprised to be invited, and so I'm always kind of have that little, it's going to sound corny, that spiritual kind of thing. I'm grateful, and I want to show that I'm I'm a person that relates to stuff like a present. I don't know that I'm just kind of basic.
It's that little flash of red that gets me on that one.
Oh,
but this one in particular, this is I think no, it's second to last one. This one, the aluminum that you're using, is it a how thin of a gauge is it? Are you using just like tin snips?
Yeah. I don't even have tin snips sometimes. I can't, sometimes I lose them and I just cut it with scissors.
Scissors.
I'm in the zone.
It must be hell on scissors.
Oh yeah, I buy them all the time. My husband is constantly saying, "You wrecked these scissors." But yeah, the scissors, sometimes I get a better cut. I know that sounds ridiculous, but
no, I get it. I've worked with aluminum as well, so I totally get it. And this is essentially aluminum flashing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's affordable.
Yeah. And you pick this kind of stuff up at the hardware store?
Yeah, well, good old Home Depot. I just go by whatever's there and go with it. I love working with it because it's in my price range.
I'd love to see this as a little video. I'd love to see it spin, see what, I'm dying to see the other side.
Yeah, I'll take some work. Well, I just, one day I think I was just on a roll with that, how it goes.
It works really well. And then this is the most current piece, correct?
Right. Well, there's more stuff sooner or later than that, but yes, that's the most recent from my residency in Japan.
So tell me about this piece, because it's so different.
So fragile, right? Those are bamboo sticks. When I went to Japan, I did not take any materials. I kind of like to challenge myself when I go to these residencies, and it's expensive to tote the materials. So I say to my husband, he happened to go along, let me do this and find a hardware store and see what materials they have. So we were able to find those bamboo poles in their garden department. And then another resident artist, Japanese, we were able to communicate together. And I said, they all know about Tyvek paper, which is what they wrap buildings in. Most people are familiar. And I told him that he saw pictures and he wanted to know, oh, Tyvek. So we got talking. And I said, I wish I could get some. And he said, well, he decided to order me sheets of it from his Amazon account so I could have it delivered to me in Japan. So that's how I got that. So that is white Tyvek, and this is called offering because I see those as like spiritual offerings to nature. And then my whole thing about Japan, it's such an experience, very personal experience. So I created those pieces, and the Tyvek stayed stiff. And then the bonus to this piece, the same artist said, I have a surprise for you. There would be an artist there interpreting. And I said, oh, a surprise. He said, he's bringing it tomorrow. And I'm thinking, what is that going to be? Because these were out in the garden and we were ready for the opening the next day. He came with fluorescent lighting that he hooked up to light it for me out in this garden. Now, think about that. So not only was it a major gift, but he got me. He knew I needed the shadows, and he worked right with me. So to me, that was one of those unspoken, like not like it crazy the way that worked out. I couldn't have asked for a better situation that another artist would get me without me having to talk.
I'm curious because something like this doesn't seem like it's built to last for, centuries. So do you consider at all that if the sculpture gets destroyed or dismantled, does the photograph of it then become its own artwork?
Yes, I think so, because
Okay.
everything I feel is in change, in flux. So this would never look the same. I've done this rendition. I did it in metal. I think you may have come upon it. I did them in metal, in red. So I'm still trying to make this offering to nature and the things that are around us. Yeah, so the photo, just the capture with the shadows and that pale pink color, to me, it has that just what I would want in Japan, a painterly, subtle capture. So like
Yeah.
that's what I say. If you look at it longer and longer, and most people who do art paint and they kind of get it. So I could never have painted it as beautiful as the lighting. So
Yeah, the shadow just works wonders. I mean, it's got a real cloud-like structure,
yeah,
but that underlighting, that just does
yeah.
it.
And the
Yeah.
fact that he surprised me.
So I want to start at the beginning. When you were young, way young, did you have any sort of like first artistic experience? Like were you subjected to art? Was there anything that just sort of blew you away when you were a kid that you always remember?
As a kid, I'm going to be honest, no, because I had very strict Roman Catholic
Hmm.
art class, was paint by number, color. So no, not until I graduated from college. Of course, took the typical art classes, clay,
Okay.
pottery.
What did you go
But
to school for?
I went to school for education and French. Okay, so I do not have an MFA in art, but when I was home with my children as they were growing up, I felt like something was gnawing away at me, and I decided I always wanted to be an architect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thinking, how am I going to do this? So I just started going to school for architecture. Long story short, my professor, when I was trying for the last class, he said, I don't really think you should do this. You should really be an artist. These things you think up, they're
Uh-huh.
they're crazy. So I credit him. It's all his fault. So
Okay.
that
That's
was
good.
at
It's
least.
always good to know who to blame. So that's
I'm going to
fantastic.
blame him, but he's passed away. But God loved him because he was the man that taught me how to see,
Okay.
how to see with new eyes, because I didn't have that opportunity as a young girl. It was
Yeah.
all follow the rules, stay rigid. And I do think what's happened because of that upbringing, do it this way as an adult and having people encourage me and mentor me, I've decided I'll do it my way. And now I can break free. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like maybe that's why my work has that free quality that it's like subconscious. I feel that I've been wanting to be free and kind of be me. And it's coming out and it's coming out in the art now.
That's fantastic. So you credit him with really teaching you the process to love. Who was there anybody who taught you sculptural processes, or was it all just find on your own?
It was fine on my own, but also I would bounce back to him and he would just say, he was such I don't know, he just encouraged me to just keep doing it, keep do the work, do more, do more. So that's what is my mantra still. Just do it. Just keep going,
I
keep
like it.
going. Yeah.
So
Just
where
keep
when
going,
you
make those maquettes. He's like maquette, maquette,
yeah
maquette, to
yeah
scale and all that.
yeah When you go to make a new piece, say you're in your studio, where do your ideas often come from? Like what sparks your creativity?
Sometimes it's events that are going on in the world that I'm annoyed about, but I don't know how to express it. But I do think nature, I take walks and I run a lot. So I'm always out in nature. Nature kind of leads me the way and helps
Yeah.
me find my language or my voice.
Hmm. Do you ever
Yeah,
keep a sketchbook, like go in the
I
garden
do.
and sketch? You do?
I do, but
Okay.
I'm getting lazy about it. I take more photos.
Is you is your sketchbook mostly a language that only you would understand, or is
That's
it?
what I mean. So I have a million photos that I take, and like, why did I take that leaf 17 times? You
Yeah.
know, a leaf, like even now in the fall, this is when I find that basically nature is at its most beautiful for me with the decay, and showing that how things curl and how they become transformed. So the change of seasons this time of year is really exciting for me.
It's is it the color or the decay?
It's the decay and the curling and what
Okay.
nature does. Like I pick up on the curling of like a dead leaf.
Uh-huh.
And it just really sets me like another planet, you
So
know.
that's the thing. I'm always looking for the thing that an artist will tell me that completely, provides a window into the
Yeah,
insight of their work. So that
yes.
that was great. Um, when when you're making your sculpture, say you're in your studio and you're working on your piece and you're in the zone, right? What's usually going on in your head?
But this probably looks terrible. Like I'm very
The whole time?
pretty much. Or then what happens, I find myself in a frenzy and I can't make it fast enough. You know,
Ah,
my husband will say, like I fall off a step stool because I'm so excited to get something, turn around, move it again. So
yeah.
yes, it speeds me up. I'm thinking, yeah, I don't know. I get really hyperactive.
Uh, that's fascinating. When you're making the work itself, um, do your ideas tend to come first in what you want to do, or is it more of a working with the materials you find what you were looking for?
Definitely. I never have a clue. I just start working with it. Honestly, I don't sketch ahead. I just
Uh-huh.
start let my hands play with it and kind of see how I'm feeling that day.
So you
If I
think it's your subconscious is
I
kind of
do, I do. I
guiding you?
think, like I said, it's like if there's an emotion, like I know certain things I created when I was mad. I can
Hmm.
tell that in a certain. I did that because of this, or I felt frustrated. But I do believe that this fall season is my most fruitful period.
Hmm.
Look back, and I know that. I think it's almost like because the year's almost over. I don't know. I
Do
just
you
feel like
take a break in the spring then?
no, I don't, but it's harder for me to go inside. I can't stand being in the studio sometimes. So that's why I like to do work outside because then I can do it outside. I don't even have a yard anymore, but I always envision everything outside in the spring. But now, because I know it's like now I'm coming inside again, so now I want to make these curvy things that please me. I
Hmm.
don't know what else to say.
So over the years, because you've had a studio for a while now, have you seen a change in your creative process? And if so, how has it changed over the years?
Um, what's happening is I'm trusting my gut more and I'm not fiddling with it as much. I try to make it, set it, and leave it alone. Um, as I maybe because I know, well, you did that before, you did that before. Now I'm kind of letting it sit there and it be and let it simmer and
Hmm.
not tweak. Like same thing when you're doing a painting, when to stop. So I try to stop myself
Hmm.
before I'm going to wreck it.
Has it been like a continual change, a slow slide change over the years?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
Um, but it's
Sometimes
all
artists have real breaks, like,
yeah.
it's like I'm going to do everything completely different now or whatnot. So,
No, but I feel like I go through, I get tired of a certain material, then I'll say, oh, right now I'm working with wire because
okay.
I went to France and I said to one of the artists, can you bring me a bunch of wire? So I worked with wire and wove it. That was a whole new, so sometimes, yes, I do say, okay, time for new material. No
Hmm.
more with the flashing.
That's
Okay.
actually, it was my next question. I was
Yeah.
curious about materials. Are you always constantly looking at new materials?
Yes, or
Yeah.
reworking some of the stuff because I have stuff that I can rework. Like I like aluminum screening. So I'll say, well, what else can I do with it? It becomes a bit of a game with me. How
Yeah.
can I make it look different this time?
So here's the $1 million question. How big is your pile of stuff? Like, because I can imagine that you probably like, oh, that's great. I'm going to take that and use that, but you might not use it right away. So put it in the pile.
Yeah,
So
how big
do,
is the pile? Well, like I have stuff hanging from the ceiling of my studio. I invite people if they'd like to come see it. It's hanging, but it's orderly because
okay.
again, there's this side of me. I can't have mass chaos. People come in and they go, oh, because I feel like I need to compartmentalize things. Like, yes, that's up there, and maybe I'll get to it again, but I really don't want it in my visual path when I'm
Okay.
doing my playing. Like I don't even like paintings on the wall in my studio. I have to have one whole white area to feel like it's a free canvas. I know some artists can have the whole wall full of stuff. I can't. I
Hmm.
need to feel like it's a clean slate. You're starting new for some reason. I don't know what that's about.
So starting new, do you ever have you ever been in your studio and you're looking at an older piece and you just like, nope, that's you just you rework it? Do you ever
Oh, yeah.
all the time?
Sometimes, like all the time, but less and less now because um, I don't know. Some of them I actually look at them, some of them that I think were so great, and I go, no, it's okay, it's good. Like it's taken me time to accept the piece. You know,
Huh.
I'm trying to do a little bit more of that. Not like I'm some genius, but to try to think back, why did I make it that way? And yeah, maybe should I improve it? Or should I do a whole series of these? That's the other wrestling thing. Should I
Mhm.
change it up or stay on this path?
I just had this same kind of conversation, the same questions. I was talking to a sculptor just yesterday. We were talking about how, as a painter, and I have a lot of other painter friends who we would love to do more sculpture, and we think sculpture wise, but I don't have the space. So, I if I
Yeah,
make a sculpture, that's great, and so that's why I make maquettes. How do you
me
do
too.
it?
Yeah, well, I have to constantly move them around or maybe hang them from the ceiling or say,
Uh,
I'm going to take it apart now. Like that flashing one, that became all taken apart and I'm reworking that flashing. I had the photo of it, but I can't store the stuff. I then take them apart and reuse it.
hmm.
I have tons of paintings. That is my new challenge. I always
Okay.
paint. Now I'm like, okay, how many of these are going to be paint overs because they're just sitting there and
Right.
we all accumulate all that.
I didn't. I must not have drilled down deep enough. I didn't see many paintings on your website, so now I
No.
have to kind of go back and take a look.
Yeah, well, like this one behind me, like this is a kind of painting, but then there's all different ones.
Okay.
People say paint, but some people go, oh, but I love your paintings. They may love it, but I really love the 3D things.
Hmm.
That's why I'm saying focus on what I love right
Do
now.
Do you find that your paintings and sculptures have commonalities, like common shapes or forms, or are they
No,
completely separate for you?
they're total something else. They're not
Really?
3D. Yeah, I don't know what they are, to be honest with you. A lot of them are playing with color and just playing with paint and technique,
Okay. Did
watercolor.
when you decided to become an artist, did you know that you wanted to be a sculptor right away?
Yes, I did. I always wanted to make three-dimensional and I also wanted the pieces to kind of have a wow factor if I could, because that's why I'm focused. I do those installations as well.
Okay.
That's what's interesting. It seems the art world loves that. They want to be entertained or
Huh.
but being an installation artist, you don't make any money.
Hmm.
It's
That's okay. Nobody else is either, so don't
No,
let them
oh
fool you.
well, so then I decided, yeah, so I think I'll have fun with this, like
Yeah.
the installations then become a way to do a bigger story. Instead of one sculpture, you might do a grouping of them.
So you mentioned something just a minute ago about wow factor. So my next question is really about when you say that, who is the wow factor for? Like, is it for you or is it for your audience?
The audience, to be honest with you,
Okay.
because I am the person that's already been on the journey and saw it. So I
Okay.
want somebody to look and like scratch their heads and go, what the,
So when
like,
you're making work, are your audiences in the front of your mind when you're making work?
no, no, not
Okay.
till I make it, and then I may move pieces around. Like I have a piece now, it's 9 separate elements. They're 9 tomato cage type people thing anyway. Um, but now I want people to, when I put them around, to actually go, what is this about? Like, and then how I would stage them is the important part. Like, how can I make them really stop and look at these? Because I want to have that dialogue with people, and I'm trying to find a way to create it with a bit of a wow. Yeah, like a shock.
Yeah. Well, sometimes wows can come in scale, right? So
Um,
I'm curious, say, in an ideal world, if you didn't have to worry about space and you didn't have to worry about, financial, how much it costs or everything, how big do you imagine your works? How big would you love to see them?
oh my God, I'd like it to be like 30, 40, 50 feet high, one piece. If somebody
Okay.
would say they'd pay for me and it'd be one piece that I could leave, I'd be happy. You
Yeah.
know, that's a dream come true. No, I know that's not real, but I always create them when I make these maquettes. I make them big and then I make little people. So yeah,
Uh-huh.
I see them as, you know, 40, 50 feet stories, like a massive, like a real wow.
Yeah. I would love to see some of your photographs photoshopped that large, just
Wouldn't
to
that be,
see
yeah,
what that
wouldn't that
would.
be fun?
Yeah. So that's your assignment. So I
Okay.
want to see that
Well, I
happen.
think, that's like winter work. That's what I call it. If I have to be
Oh, okay.
inside and I can't go outside,
All right.
sure, why not? With Photoshop, we can do all that.
Are there when you're in your studio and say you're stuck, are there other artists that you think about or that you like to go to for inspiration? Do you have
I
a
do.
few that are always there for you?
Oh, yes. Always Eva Hesse,
Mm-hmm.
always Ursula von Rydensgaard,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and Andy Goldsworthy.
Really,
Um,
I happen to pick him and
and they kind of help me unlock myself and free myself and just to go there. Yeah.
that's that's wonderful. So we have time for just one more question.
Okay.
Question I ask everybody, so you might know what's coming. What does making art do for you?
It actually makes me very happy. I know that's a simple answer, but I am so happy and grateful that I can create weird work. I don't have to do this to feed myself. I can be
Mm-hmm.
totally free. I feel blessed. What it does for me, it gives me freedom. A lot of people don't have the freedom to do this. They have to make work because they need to feed themselves. So
Right.
my art for me is allowing me like to go on this journey, and I've met all kinds of people, and it allows me to continue to grow because I force myself to go to different countries and grow. So it's allowed me to continue to grow and not to just get, boring.
That's perfect. I love it. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming by to talk to me today about your work. Like a lot of the artists I've interviewed, now I have to go back and look at your work again, and I'll have a
Yes.
few more questions for you. But thank you very much, and a big thank you to everybody who tuned in to watch today, to watch Francis and I have a conversation about our work. Of course, we love it when you like, share, and of course, subscribe. That helps propel us forward. And we want to hear about what you think of ArtShow series and Francis' work. So please leave something in the comments section. If we can't answer it ourselves, we'll pass it along to Francis. But thank you very much for watching today. And Francis, again, thank you for spending some time with me today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Craig.
Take care.
Yep.